So today we are honored. We are going to talk with Professor Pooch about the use of inner senses rather than the outer senses. But first, we are going to delve into the current situation with the COVID-19. David, how do you like evaluate the current situation?
Well, I'm used to being able to, I work out of my place. I'm used to this. I'm a hermit anyhow. So I'm kind of used to this kinds of stuff. But a lot of people, it's just dragged on and on and on and on. And people are stuck in their homes. They don't know what to do. And there's a whole problem and then we're going to get to, is that the word attitude. And the word attitude is the one thing in life you can actually control. How you look at things. Whether, you can look at the good side or the bad side. Everything in this universe has opposites. And you just have to try to find the good side and deal with it. And I'm sorry to say, and I'm going to, be straight out with people, and that is that we're never going back to the old normal. People think, oh, we'll go back, it'll be like it was. There's not going to be that normal. And we're not going to know the effects of the new normal for 2 to 5 years is my guesstimate, okay? But the thing is, you don't want to sit around for 2 to 5 years. You want to be able to start looking for ways to just continue your life and move forward. My thing is, you always move forward and finding ways to move forward.
Yeah, that's so important. So how do you measure, how do you balance the outer senses and the inner senses, and what are they?
All right, so let's talk about that. Well, first of all, the outer senses. These are, you see, hear, touch, smell, taste. And there's funny part is there's one thing in common besides that they're senses. There's one thing in common about these senses. Whether you see, hear, touch, taste, smell, you're dealing with stuff that's already there. In a way, it's past tense. You're tasting something. Well, it's food that has been made. You're seeing something. You're seeing something that's already there. You're hearing something. It's already there. And we've been trained our whole life to react to what's already there. Now, the way I want you to start looking at things is, instead of dealing with what's already there, is how to create and work with ways of using your inner intellectual senses to create and help create your new normal. I mean, just because, you could sit back and watch the new normal come up, but why don't you create your own new normal? Yeah, you have to react to certain things still existing. There's no doubt about that. But you could also work on ways to create, at least for your life, how you fit in and how your new normal is. So why don't we start looking at the 6 inner senses?
Perfect.
The first of all, we all know about. It's called your imagination. Now, the thing with imagination is you can create your own new normal. You use your imagination to create things. What's really neat is, see, and here's where the problem is that came through the years, is if you watch a little child, a little baby, a child, they have the wildest imaginations. They'll have their imaginary friends and this and that. And they have all these things that they create in their life. You're born with these senses. You just have been held back from using a lot of them. Because let's look at the school systems, and I'm not going to go into the whole thing. We could talk for hours on the schooling and stuff. But I mean, I can only talk for the United States, is that they kind of rein in your imagination. They don't want you imagining. They want you to follow strict rules. You're sitting in school and they'll say, Johnny, stop daydreaming out the window, that kinds of stuff. And they're bringing you inside to your own, you got to follow these rules and you got to, because at least in the United States, they're raising people to have jobs, not careers. People are held back from using their imagination. And my thing is, let's create our own new future.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we have this imagination. The funny part is we have all the six senses that I'm going to mention. They're like muscles. You have to work at it. You got to, flex your muscles, but you flex your imagination, let loose. It's so funny. There's this terminology, I don't know how much it's used around the world, but there's a thing called thinking outside the box. In other words, using your imagination. The thing is, people say, Pooch, do you think outside the box? And I say, no, I think outside the straitjacket, and like they're going to take me to the mental institution or something like that. The thing is, it's a fallacy. There is no box unless you put a box around you. Yeah. And don't let anybody, and they grow up, be an adult, well, look, my thing is, there's a time and a place. Yes, there's a time to be an adult. When I do business and legal and stuff like that in the music industry, I mean, I'm serious. I'm an adult. But otherwise, let the little kid out of you, that child, that's inner child. Don't bury it. Use that child. That child has got a lot of life and imagination. Let it out and let it go crazy and have fun and imagine. And they'll say, well, I'm not creative. Folks, everybody is creative. You were born creative. You just got to use it. Imagine, just close your eyes and let yourself just go crazy with ideas. Write a song, write a book, whatever comes to you, just start. If you don't start, you're not going to get any place. So,
What is the second inner skill? Inner sense.
Okay, these are in no order. I'm just naming them.
Okay.
This is a very important one. It's called your will. Now, your will is tied to two other words, focus, and that term you hear, self-discipline. Now, self-discipline, you'll find, people hate that. First of all, if you hate the word self-discipline, change the word discipline to leadership. Self-leadership. Listen to yourself, self-leadership. But the idea is that you want to use your will to focus on what you need to do, and the self-discipline to stay on it, to keep doing it. And the top people in the world, the most successful people in the world, are self-disciplined. They do this. And by the way, I'll give you a little funny thing that'll help you out with this. The people don't understand, they see things they think they see things with your eyes. No, you see with your brain. Your eye brings stuff, to the brain. The brain processes what you see. And a good key to help you out with your focus is get rid of any clutter, messes. I have to, excuse me, I have to clean, away from my desk, because you think you don't see things, but your brain is processing. Well, I see this piece of paper and I see this mouse and I see this thing and this animal and this thing. You know, focus, get down to it. Another thing that'll help you to focus, and I tell this to a lot of people and it really helps. The night before, when you're going to bed, before you go to bed, make a list of the important things you're going to do the next day. So let's say there's 5 or 6. All right, the next day, you get up, you have your breakfast or whatever you're doing. Don't get lost in daydreaming, folks. And then, all right, you start with number 1. Now you just focus on number 1. Forget about 2 to 6. Focus on number 1, take care of it. You get it done, you've accomplished something, and nothing feels better than accomplishing it. Accomplishing something that's really helpful. Okay, 1 is done. Go to number 2. Excuse me. Forget about number 1. And forget about 3, 4, 5, and 6. Work on number 2. So in other words, prepare yourself the night before so that you're not, what am I going to do today? Now, with my life, it gets a little funny because I'm the troubleshooter. So I'll get a phone call that say, Pooch, help. I need to deal with this. How do I do this? How do I do that? And of course, that throws things a little out of kilter. But basically, I try to stay to a list so I don't forget things. Just before you go to bed, just write all these things down. These are ways to help. And, it's back to, exercising your muscles in a way. It's your willpower of working on something and working on it to the best of your ability by focusing on it. The will helps you to focus, and the self-discipline to keep getting things done. Excuse me, I got to take a drink.
Yeah, take your time. It's really amazing listening to your great ideas, David, every time.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. All right, let's go to number 3.
Yeah.
Reason. 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 What is reason? Well, this is one of the one sense that doesn't really work with people till they're about 6 or 7 years old. And the reason gives you the ability to say, when somebody says something to you, whether you want to listen to it and say, oh, that's a good idea, or no, that's not me. You're reasoning out, what is right for you. Now, here's an interesting little thing to think about. I said it doesn't come to you 6 or 7 years old. A lot of people, and why a lot of people have problems nowadays is they don't understand that your brain is an amazing computer. It remembers, unless you're brain damaged, it remembers every little thing since you were tiny. Now, between the ages of 1 and 6, you take everything in as fact. And this is why a lot of people have what is known as fear of success when they grow up, because they don't realize this stuff stays with them. But between 1 and 6, you're under the power of everybody. Your teachers, your parents, your friends, your fellow friends, your kids, whatever. You're no good. Da, da, da. And you take it in as fact. You haven't gained the ability, which you'll get about 6, 7, 8, of saying, who's that woman yelling at? She's drunk. Yeah, no, I don't have to listen to that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So young kids, and what happens is a lot of people when they grow older, and I've seen this a lot, they put roadblocks in front of their own path. And they have excuses for why they can't do this, they can't do that, and it comes up and people will start using the word, well, I'll try to do. No, don't try to do anything. Try is a negative. Try is one step away from doing. You know, don't try something. That's saying, well, I'm not sure if I can do this or not, you know, just do it, you know, work at it, you know, do things. And that's where reason comes in, where, you know, once somebody says something good, you have that ability of saying what's right for you and what isn't right for you. And what happens, these older people, what they do, they get 20 and they're holding themselves back because they think something's wrong with them. Because back in the ages of 1 to 6, you're no good. I'm going to tell your mom, you know, all this stuff, and they take it in its fact and don't have the ability to say, you know, that lady's crazy. Put her in an insane asylum. I don't need to listen to this. You know, they don't have that ability. So the word reason, yes, it's an important inner sense, and it gives you the power to choose what is going to affect you or not.
Yeah.
And by the way, everything keeps coming back to this word attitude. You know, you can say, yeah, I can't do it. Just, you know, and another thing tied with this too, people are so afraid of making mistakes.
Yeah.
And my big thing is, hey, the more mistakes you make, the more successful you're going to get. Because all mistake is it's a mistake. It's you make a course adjustment. So like you see, you make a mistake. Well, you now know what doesn't work. Good. Try the next step. You know, it's just like that. It's as simple as that. I wanted to bring that in. Okay, you want to go to the next one?
Yeah.
Intuition.
Okay.
Your intuition. This is that gut feeling you get. You know, it's what we call it. Yeah, gut feeling, you know. When you meet anybody, the first thing you do when you meet somebody, you get this instant intuition. Oh, that person looks good. You know, no, that's okay. No, something's wrong here. Something feels right. Intuition is also the phone rings and you know who it is. It's just, these are things, everybody has these senses. They just have to be exercised. Intuition is, you know, they'll say, well, predicting and all this stuff like that. Intuition is just that feelings you get. And by the way, trust your gut. Some people get into this thing called paralysis by analysis. And
Okay.
they analyze something that, well, maybe this, or maybe trust your, what does your gut say? Just say, it feels good, whatever. In one of my books, the music biz book, in the business section, there's a chapter called Goals. Who are you and what are you about? And, you know, some people are not, like, they want to be in music, but they're not sure what they want to do in it. You know, they're not sure if they're the talent. What can you be a manager? Well, try these things on you. Think of something you might want to do. Like, I want to play in front of a large crowd. What did your gut instantly tell you? No, I don't want large crowds. Or, yeah, I do. That's that gut feeling. Learn to trust it. It works an insane amount of the time instead of analyzing something to death, you know, where, well, I could, or you know. By the way, back to the other thing with mistakes. See, you know, there's a fear of failure and there's a fear of success. The fear of success we already touched on in a way is because they feel like they don't deserve it, you know, kind of a thing. And it's caused a lot of people to die young, and that's sad. I'm not going to get into all that stuff. But the fear of failure, you don't fail until you quit. When you quit,
Yeah.
you failed. But, you know, just my thing is, if something doesn't work, I don't know, this is just me. I get up and fight even harder. You know, if this doesn't work, Okay, let's try this. Use your imagination, come up with other ideas. They all intertwine, all these senses, kinds of a thing. And I see I have a cat that just came up. I hope he doesn't start going crazy, but he always wants attention. All right, next sense, your memory. Now, I hear this all the time. I'm guilty of it sometimes too. My thing is, I have a bad memory with names, people's names. It was funny. I was laughing about it the other day. I can remember the phone numbers of women that I went out with when I was a teenager, but I can't tell you what name went to what phone number. You know what I mean? But memory is something you just have to exercise. So, just work on things. I mean, I ran into this a lot because I'm also an actor. Besides being in the music industry, I've acted in like 35 indie films until I realized I'm not a memorizer in that respect. I like to ad lib. That's why, like I told you, and I tell people interviewing me, I don't want to know the questions beforehand. I don't want to think about them. I just want to let loose and just be me. I feel more real this way. But a memory is very important, in life. Gee, where did I leave my keys? Kind of thing. I had a cat that used to hide my keys so I wouldn't go out. So I cut from keys to my car. So, all right, where'd you hide it this time? Kind of a thing, you know what I mean? And we come to our last one. And the word is perception.
Okay.
This is a word that's very, very important from so many angles because everybody has a perception. They don't think of it that way. But from the time you were born, and they actually say in your DNA from lifetimes ago, but through DNA and stuff, and then who you're around, your teachers, your parents, you're this, you're that. You're built, what's built into you is a point of view. How you perceive something. So, that's why I always tell people, I hate your art. I hate your music. Yeah, that's an opinion, folks. It's how they perceive it, or they're just jealous or lazy, But perception is a very important thing. Let's look at an artist on a stage, a musician on a stage, or things like that. Every artist has, even whether they know it or not, and then whether it's good or not depends on them, is they have an image. Everybody has an image of how they see themselves, but your audience has an image of the way they see you. Now, let's using the musician as an example, because that's my background's in music. So, it's the easiest one for me to do. Image, the way you sound, the way you come across to the audience, the way you dress, the way you look. This is all part of image, which could get into a gigantic subject of branding, which is one of the most important things if you want to make money in your life. You have a brand, okay? I'm lucky. I'm like a walking brand. Nobody looks like me, but you want to stand out and stuff. But perception, how does somebody perceive you to be? Now, they could be totally wrong, but through their life, they grew up all this time, from being friends and stuff, and they have this point of view. It could be a prejudice, a bias. It could be take everything great, whatever. It's a perception. And this is something you can build. Now, obviously, this brings up, yeah, the best way to put this is people mix up the word promotion and public relations. Promotion is hitting somebody over the head. Buy this, see this show, do this, do this. PR is the way somebody perceives you. When you're out in public, when you're on a stage, whatever you're doing, they're perceiving you from the way they were raised and the way that people are about. They've built in these habits and all kinds of things like that. This perception of you. And you have a perception of yourself. Everybody has this. Well, perception is an important thing to think about and understand. And we've just gone through the 6 different ones, but I want to go into some things tied to all this.
Yeah.
And that is, going back to the very beginning, I said, this could be a new normal. Whatever it is, we're not totally sure of it yet. But people are afraid. They have a fear of this new normal. They're afraid. They don't know what's going to happen because they're waiting for things to happen to them. That goes back to why I said, let's create our own with these different senses. They have these fears, but you have an attitude choice, the good or the bad. You could fear oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? You know, or you can look at the fear as a challenge, or even better yet, an opportunity.
Yeah, that is so intuitive, Professor Pooch. So my question here would be, what basic steps would you advise everyone to take during this time and in the future?
Okay, you got a few hours? All right. Seriously, the idea is they have to realize they have a choice. They always have choices. And people think you have a choice of how you look at something. Now, let's say, oh, these people, what am I going to do? I can't perform out there. Well, using imagination, everything, you can find ways to do things streaming. Okay, going back to the overall question, because otherwise we'll go on for hours, is what I was warning you about. The steps to take is, here's a funny one. Here's a simple, funny one that everybody can do that really helps. People don't realize this, but they don't breathe correctly. Now, why is this important? Because air is your energy. You put gas into a car, while into your body, you put air, water, and food, okay? So air is very important. You'll notice, like if you're tense for fear or this or that, everybody goes through this. I catch myself all the time. You're breathing very shallow. You're not breathing deeply. And this is another thing we lost from being a baby. Watch how a baby breathes. They're not like, they breathe through their stomach first. Their stomach, you see their stomach go out. If you want to take deep breaths, and I'll get to why in a second, but you have to start with your stomach, expand out, and inhale all the way, pause for a second or 2 or 3, and go exhale all the way down where your stomach is basically aiming towards your spine. I mean, without hurting yourself, obviously. But you'll find out your brain isn't working. You're coming up with bad things and stuff because you're tense. When you're tense, you don't breathe. The idea is to take 3, before you do anything or whenever you notice yourself not breathing, just simply take, my thing, excuse me, I believe in 10 deep breaths, pause at the top for a second, you know, all the way down, pause at the bottom, but totally pause it and, you know, totally inhale deeply. You will find that your brain will clear up some. That's why they tell you about, you know, well, you got to run more, you got to walk more. Just if you have to sit behind a desk because everybody's stuck in their house or whatever, breathe deeply. And it's back again, you know, you'll see it's fuel. You'll feel immediately better by taking the deep breaths, as silly as that sounds, you know. Oh, another quick way to get energy, and this is funny, because all you have to do is rub your hands together.
Okay.
I take deep breaths. What it is, it's part of Qi Gong. Qi Gong is the mother of Tai Chi, which is a martial art. It's like yoga in a way, but it's all about breathing. Take breaths and stuff like this. Now people say, well, wait a minute, I'm nervous. I don't want more energy. No, folks, there's two kinds of energy. There's nervous energy and there's relaxed energy. When I go like this, I'm not getting more tension, more energy. It's relaxed energy. There's good and bad of everything. Everything has an opposite.
Yeah, exactly, Professor. It has an opportunity.
There you go. There you go.
It has been amazing talking to you, Professor Pooch, as usual. Thank you so much for that indeed.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Thank you for having me on.